Hello, and thanks for coming along to And We Have an Office Dog, the digital agency podcast where we talk to agency owner-directors and learn more about what makes them tick. From the things that make them similar to the things they'd rather have known sooner, where they've had success and where they've learned some hard lessons. All will be revealed with your host, Chris Simmance, the Agency Accelerator, and he'll be talking to a different awesome agency person in each episode, asking them 4 questions and seeing where the conversation takes us over the next 25 minutes. Okay, so let us begin. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, voiceover guy. And on the podcast today, we do not have Rin Handbags. We have Rin Hamburgh. How are we doing?
Good. Everyone's going to be like, "What?" You're going to have to explain that in joke in the comments or something.
So, for avid podcast listeners of both season 1 and season 2, John Payne of Noisy Little Monkey fame had you on his podcast a little while ago and called you Rin Handbags, and forevermore, that's all I'm going to be thinking, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I'm in his mobile as Handbags, and he calls me that. We sing in the same choir, so he calls me Handbags. It's fun. There we go.
Brilliant. I knew I loved him already, but stuff like that just keeps me going in this cynical world of all sorts of things going on.
Yeah.
Rin, tell us a little bit about RH and Co. What is it you guys do? How did you get there? How long has it been going?
Okay, nutshell version. So we are a strategic brand copywriting agency. So we focus on all things words to help your brand. We've been going for almost, I had to think about that for a second. March will be 7 years, which is quite cool. And we're a team of 6, so this little small team. We work with what we call expert-led businesses. They are, for us, the most exciting businesses where you've got loads of subject matter experts within the business. And so we can create the kind of content that actually is full of genuinely useful things and is a bit different. And I've got a journalism background. So, I've been for over 20 years been interviewing people. And that's sort of the DNA, really, of the business. So it's come very much from that journalistic route.
And the interesting thing from my point of view, having spoken to loads and loads of agency people, especially these days with AI all over the place, expert-led and industry expertise style content is way more sought after now than I think it probably was about a year or so ago, because robots can't really do experience.
No, exactly. I mean, they can be useful.
Not yet, at least.
It's interesting because, obviously, like, everybody wants to talk to me about AI. Aren't you worried about your jobs? And I'm like, not particularly. I think by the time robots have taken over, I'll be out of my job anyway, and retired and sitting on a beach somewhere, because that's definitely going to happen.
Fingers crossed there'll be a robot serving a cocktail for you.
That would be cool. My brain just went to but what if its wheels get stuck in the sand? Oh my gosh, why are we thinking about this? I love the way
let's get you back on track. Get you back on track.
Go down a rabbit hole. So the AI thing, I think it's really interesting, because I think where it could be used more is people putting their expertise in it and then it being shaped. But that said, I think part of our expertise as an agency, it's not just that we're good writers, obviously we can do that, but it's that we are good at speaking to experts and listening to them. And I've got it's a terrible analogy because it's about knitting, and I don't know how familiar most people are with knitting, but most people know what a jumper is. Imagine you have a bunch of yarn in your head, and I take that out of your head, and it's like, cool, and you're like, that's very useful. So it's not useful in that current form. We need to do something. We need to know who it's going to be for. We need to get the right colours together. We need to create a pattern. We need to actually knit it. Is it the right size? And that's kind of what we do. We get that yarn out, but then we sort it and we make it into something that's actually useful. So yeah, the raw materials come from our clients.
And that's where agencies like yourself, I think, are probably doing better than agencies that are churning high volume of content, just throwing out ChatGPT content, for example. It's got its place, but not necessarily when it's supposed to be expertise, I guess. 100%. So 7 years. How have the 7 years treated you? I'm not seeing any detection of early onset age related problems. You don't seem to have any grey hair in the video. So
I mean,
7 years good, or how's it going?
it's been
It's the
a
definition
journey.
on the camera.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I think the interesting thing is that, I have a background as a journalist, first on a newspaper and then freelance. I've been working for myself for 14 years. I've never worked agency side and I've never worked client side. So as well as giving me a healthy
Mm,
dose of imposter syndrome, that kind of means that it's been a lot of making it up as I go along and like really learning on the fly. But also, if you think about it, in the last 7
yeah.
years, we've had Brexit, a pandemic, and a recession. So, I mean, I'm just
Mm,
really happy that we're still here. Excuse the frog in the throat. Um, yeah, it's been good. It's been steadily growing and getting better. And I feel like we've been honing our expertise, our own personal expertise, which is really nice. I think I started off sort of accidentally ended up being part of an accelerator program, which was more for like startups and scale ups. I don't necessarily know it was the right thing for agencies,
yeah.
but actually it meant that I was around those sorts of people who were constantly iterating and kind of tweaking their product and, fail fast and lots of
Mm,
mindset stuff. And I think that was really helpful because I've always taken an approach of like make like a 1% change every day in something, that incremental steps to getting
yeah.
better. So yeah.
Yeah, and having a plan of where to go means 1% a day is not as hard as it might well sound, and consistency is a lot easier as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
What
true.
what do you think's been one of the biggest successes that you've seen in the last 7 years, despite surviving all of the things you just
Yeah.
listed?
Yes, surviving. That was definitely it. I think I feel it's too cliche to say my team, but it is my team genuinely. Uh, Maybe it's more than that. It's having created a business that absolutely
Mm,
ticks all my boxes in terms of I love the people I work with. I love our clients. Like, a lot of the time agencies are like, oh, clients. I don't need to roll my eyes about my clients because they're amazing. We fired all the rubbish ones and we just keep the nice ones. Um,
mm.
and it works with my life. I have 8-year-old twins. When I launched the business, they were 9 months old. I was a single mum. I really needed for work and life to work
Oh,
together.
you like things on hard mode.
Yeah, it was quite fun. I managed to have children, move house, get divorced, and start a business all within the space of a year. So that's taught me a lot. Um,
I mean, if nothing else, it's taught you how to smile in the face of needed resilience, which is great.
100%. And you
Twins
need
as well.
resilience, right?
I can only imagine at this point.
Yeah. As a business owner, I think
Sorry,
you
I
need the
missed you there.
resilience. Sorry, we're talking over each other
Yeah,
there. That's
we
terrible etiquette for a
it's all right.
podcast.
We're both excited.
Yeah. But no, I think resilience is
Um,
incredibly important for business ownership, and agency ownership, and especially in recent times with all the crazy that's gone on. So yeah, it has definitely stood me in good stead.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, voiceover guy here. Me again. Looking to accelerate the growth of your agency? Well, check out omg.center/info. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Can't even listen to a podcast these days without ads. Um,
Love it.
so if you could go back in time 7-ish years, you're just starting the agency, probably pre-moving, pre-babies, etc. But you poofed into existence and you were able to give the younger version of you some advice about how to get the agency going and some advice about what next steps to take. What do you think you'd have told yourself now, knowing what you know?
I'm a big fan in uh, the belief of that actually things happen for a reason. So in a sense, I wouldn't change anything. But actually, one thing that I genuinely could have done earlier is to hang out with more agency people. And I think when I started, I
Mm,
was way too scared. Like I started off with, surrounded by small business owners, and we did work with like little small business owners. So it was very like this safe little environment. And I thought if I go and speak to other agency people, then they'll find out that I don't know what I'm talking about, and then I'll feel bad and then I'll stop. So it was almost like head in the sand, you know what I mean? And just kind of pretending they
yeah.
didn't exist, because it would be too scary. But I have learned so much from other agency owners, and agency
Mm,
advisors, and I think actually just putting yourself out there and being willing to kind of say, yeah, I'm new in my journey and I don't know everything, so can you help me? I think
mm.
that would have been it would have helped me. I think I reinvented so many wheels. I could have just gone, what should I do in this situation? And somebody could have told me.
Yeah, and I think the Your network is your net worth, to use a really terrible phrase. But ultimately, I totally understand, starting out, you kind of think, right, I need to focus only on the people that might buy from me, and the people that are around me who are in the industry may well be, I don't know, steal an idea or not think that I'm very good at what I do and laugh at me and all that sort of stuff. And beyond that, the post on LinkedIn that says, hey mum, I've started a business. There's that you kind of do shy away a little bit, but I do think, community is really important. Networking is really important. Talking with people who you have just the industry in common and nothing else is sometimes useful, because there's ideas and problems that have been solved elsewhere that just are inconceivable because they're unknown unknowns at that point, and uncovering those things can be absolutely fantastic for a business.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And it's the unknowns, you don't know what you don't know, right? So sometimes you're walking blindly into what turns out to be a trap, and actually other people might have seen that for you and helped you out. And I've found agency world to be an incredibly friendly place. I think people are really, really open, and I've had some really honest conversations with people who've kind of said, yeah, I did this and it didn't work, or we lost that pitch because of whatever, or here's how we've dealt with like HR issues, and actually that's lovely. It just feels like quite a safe space. So yeah, it's nice.
Oftentimes there's enough lunch on the table, so you don't really need to steal someone else's sandwich.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the key things in the agency space is, aside from like the unknown unknowns, it's that ability to not ask for help per se, but once you have a known unknown and you realize, okay, that's out of my skill set, I need to learn how to do that thing. Content's good. Yeah, blogs are good. Reading books are good, but real life expertise from real life people who've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got the bruises to, from the community is really, really key. And you say, you can have some really good, honest conversations with agency people about the ups and the downs, and it's always helpful.
Yeah, and agency advisors, I think, are useful in that sense as well, because you're not just talking to one person who's had maybe one experience or maybe 2 or 3 experiences if they've worked in-house elsewhere and now they've started their agency. But with advisors, you've got people who have themselves talked to dozens or even hundreds of agencies, and so they're bringing you lots of different perspectives. Because like there's a difference between an agency on the brand side of things, for example, compared to the digital or the growth marketing side of things. And so I know when I talk to other brand marketers, they're like, "Oh, it's so difficult proving ROI." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's really hard." And I thought it was just me. And whereas on the digital or growth marketing side of things, that maybe might not be quite the same challenge. There'll be other challenges as well.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. So, in the last 7 years, is there something that that you did right first thing you did first out of the gate that's really set you up for the current success that you're seeing?
Yes, I employed my business partner. She is
There we
an
go.
old friend actually, and she's got 4 kids, and her kids were quite young at the time. I think between like 7 and 12 or something. And so she was just looking for a part-time job, just anything that could fit in with the kids. And I was like, great, come and be my assistant. I'm really rubbish at like all the admin and stuff. And it was just like really straightforward. It was like, I think 10 hours a week or something. And she's now part owner of the business. She's our operations director, and she is like the complete opposite to me in terms of like skills and sort of natural like personality. So we're very much on the same page in terms of values and kind of how we believe the business should run. But I don't know if you know the disc profile. I'm very much a high I. She's a high C. So she does the finance stuff. Like there's absolutely no way this business would be where it is without her, because like I don't know, I'd have gone bankrupt. So yeah, that's definitely the best thing I would do.
I think that the often overlooked aspects of an agency are, and I'm sorry to your business partner, the boring part of the business. They're the bits that keep the wheels in motion. They're the bits that keep our crazy, creative, visionary brains in check. But they're also they're also the key aspect of the business that makes stuff get done. It's just so important that you don't overlook the non-billable people in an agency that really add value to the billables. Conversely, then, what did you do wrong that was a lesson that you've learned, and now it's kind of become like a key part of the business?
So many lessons. Every Monday we have a team meeting and we all talk about the previous week and what our big wins were and what our learning points are. And learning point is our euphemism for where things all went wrong, but we've learned something. I think I've learned, from so many different things.
Mm.
I mean, I think probably a tricky thing was in the pandemic, 'cause obviously we took a little dive, as everybody did, because everyone paused and,
Mm.
and panicked.
Mm.
But actually, that was one of I'll say our best years. We've kept growing since then, but we accelerated our growth in that year more than perhaps others. And I think because people were suddenly needing content in a different way. And I think then we were like, great, this growth trajectory is going to keep going, so let's hire. So that classic thing with resourcing where you're hiring ahead of forecast growth, and then that doesn't happen. And I think that definitely was a lesson. I think also we grew in maybe a bit of a lumpy way. I think I was like, oh, we need more of this type of person. Actually, no, we need more of that type of person. And understanding the difference between the people that are delivering and kind of fee earning and the ones that aren't. So that whole structural thing, I think, again, if I'd have had conversations with more agency owners back then and gone, who should I be hiring next? Then I would have, it's not so much the individuals, but the roles. I should have hired different roles. So that was definitely a learning for me, is the shape of the agency.
It's so hard when you're in it all the time to be able to spot some of these things, because it's hard to get a helicopter view when you're watching a helicopter fly above you. But one of the things I often advise agency leaders to do is to draw the current org chart, and even if your name is on 10 seats, draw it exactly as it would be, as if it's a legitimate thing with all the different roles, and then draw what you need in an ideal world with names on it. And if it doesn't have, your name should just be at the top next in the CEO or the founder, whatever name you want to give yourself slot. And that then tells you on a functional level the roles that you need to hire for. But they also, it was one of those things that helped me relatively quickly identify how to get out of my own way. I was in this role, that role, the other role, and very quickly you start to go, this is how I need to delegate this one to someone. This isn't a role we can hire for right now, but it's a role that we definitely have the expertise in house to delegate properly. And it can be as simple as drawing a little diagram on a scrap of paper sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I think we got really lucky really early on, in that my second employee was somebody who was a rare breed of human who could do account and project management. And I just assumed that everyone can do this. And then when we tried to kind of hire more in the account management or project management, it was like, oh, but you don't have these skills. Oh, no, wait, actually. And then, you start reading more and listening to more podcasts and going, oh, yeah, they are fundamentally different skills. Maybe we need to have somebody in project management and somebody in account management. And I love account management. It's fun. I enjoy it. Project management not so much, but I've learned a lot about myself as well, and we're really big fans in the team of like personality profiling, things like that. Not that we want to put anyone in a box, but just to like understand ourselves better and understand each other better. I read Brené Brown's Dare to Lead, the one she had Daring Greatly and then Dare to Lead, but that's very much about looking at yourself and understanding and being vulnerable. And so I think that's been really powerful to learn what my strengths are and say, actually, there's some things I'm not very good at, so let's give those to other people, and tell the team to hold me into account. I will forget to write stuff down in our project management system, so I get nudges every day from the team. Did you write that down? What happened with this? So if I've had a meeting, Cassie, who's our project coordinator, she'll email me after the meeting going, how did the meeting go? What were the actions? What were the next steps? Because I won't remember to write that down. And then
never let that person go.
I know, they're brilliant.
Whatever they want, just give it to them.
just stay forever. Yeah, actually, I posted about them on LinkedIn just this week, just listing all of their amazingnesses, just because they are really, and again, project coordinator doesn't sound like an exciting title. It's not glamorous, but it's just absolutely essential.
Yeah. So Rin, budding agency leader, comes to your office, knocks on the door and says, look, I'm about to start an agency, but I've been waiting to hear your one bit of advice before I do. Yeah. What advice would you give them that they can take away into their new business?
I would say examine your motives for why you want to start an agency, and have an idea of where you want it to go. Because an agency might not be what you actually want, or it may not be the best way to get to where you want to go. and also having the end in mind will help you to shape your agency in certain ways. So for example, if your thing is, build, scale, sell, you're going to have a very different agency to, when I started mine. Like I said, I needed something that was going to work with my life. I wanted a team of people that I could be myself with, a culture that worked for me. All of that was, people use the term lifestyle business, and I find that quite frustrating because it seems quite dismissive, but that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a life. And so, understanding what you want from something is really, really important before you go into it.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is great advice. It really is, because knowing where you're going, where you want to go, tells you how to get there and the routes you need to take. But also, genuinely examining what you want in life is vital. And if you start an agency and for some reason arbitrarily you go, I need 10 million in revenue, it's going to be a horrible agency to run, because you don't really want that. If you want, your own boat and you can go fishing three times a week in 10 years, that's still 10 million, but it's a very different agency. You might, if you want to take 2 days off a week and spend as much time with the kids and dog as you like, it's a very different agency, very different business, and you take different kinds of decisions. So the blueprint focus on the ego vanity measures of headcount and revenue might not be the thing you want. You get to those things as part of a byproduct of the things you do want. And having that in mind is really key. So that's great advice.
Yeah, we got up to 9 people at one point, and it was super, super stressful. I mean, I'm not saying that we wouldn't get up to it again. It's not that I'm inherently against growth. It was just, it was not the right growth at the right time, and it just ended up being so stressful. And then we're back down to 6 now, and we're so happy where we're at. So, I think those vanity metrics can be what's the word? Seductive. How big's your agency?
They're a seductive noose around your neck half the time.
Yes.
Especially as there's an element of industry kind of pull to that sort of stuff, where you go to a meetup, conference or whatever, and someone asks, the next question after they ask you what you do is, how many people do you have? As if it's a measure of success, and oftentimes it's really not. You might have an agency of 50 staff and have the best agency ever, and that's fine. But if you don't want that, then it's not the right thing for you, and so on and so forth.
Or you may have 50 staff to be entirely unprofitable. That's the other thing, is that it's the whole revenue is vanity and profit is sanity, right? So what's the point in growing if actually your profit margin is shrinking every year?
Wonderful. Exactly. Great advice. Rin Hamburgh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great fun.
And in our next episode, we'll be speaking with another agency leader to hear their story and the lessons they've learned along the way. Thanks very much for listening.